Boys, boys, beautiful boys. This little Maggie moment is going to chat about those little precious cherubs that drive most of us quite insane. Those of you who don't know, I'm a mum of 4 boys and have probably had a house full as well. So I've got to kind of understand them a little bit more than someone who maybe didn't live with them quite as closely as I did. But I also had a really close relationship with my dad, and I had brothers, so I had a bit of preparation before. I have parents and I have early years educators and I have teachers coming up to me so often saying, God, any ideas? Any ideas what to do with these boys? And I keep saying, so what seems to be the problem? And they say, well, just I don't like sitting still. And I'm just going to give you some tips about why boys and girls are different. I know we're politically not supposed to talk about that, but it's absolute rubbish because they are. Besides that thing that hangs off the front, there's a lot of differences. The first one is that boys learn through movement. And I did read some research recently that said that 5-year-old boys, you know how we love them to sit with their legs crossed and their hands like this, listening to the story on the mat? Well, for a lot of boys, their joints aren't as developed as girls, so they dip out again. They're actually in physical pain. And you're asking them to sit still longer than their attention span is capable while they're in pain. And what happens when they roll on the floor or punch the kid next to them because they're in pain? We bust them. So here are some really important things that you need to remember about boys. Yes, movement is extremely important for their concentration. They need to have a lot more stimulation to even be engaged in the first place, which is why sometimes you might have a boy jumping up and down on the couch while he's watching something on telly, and mum will go, sit down, but you know what? That's the only way he can do it right now, because he's got excess energy. So sometimes when boys discharge excess energy, they hurt other kids because they get too boisterous. So at different times, think about keeping them outside, because that's a great way to discharge excess energy for boys. One of the other things we know, parts of the brain we can now show are distinctly different. And we're working on a small booklet to give you this information so that you can have it to tell others. But we do know that the amygdala, so that's your kind of aggression centre, your response to threat centre, is actually bigger in boys than girls, which is why they like risky behaviour and why they're prone to sort of like wanting to be little warriors. Superman and all those sorts of things, so that's kind of normal. And yes, if you actually thought when you had your baby boy, oh, I'm not really going to let them, I'm not going to buy them a gun or a sword and make their own, that's actually kind of normal. So can you see there are some biological drivers that influence our boys' behaviour as well as that. The next one is they don't hear as well as girls, up to about 70% of what girls hear, and I'm saying that's if they've got eye contact. So can you see, if you're talking to the back of a boy's head, he probably doesn't even know you're talking to him. No, he's not being deliberately naughty. He just doesn't know you're actually talking to him. So without the eye contact, are you listening? And then ask him, you've got a much better chance of them listening. And then, very short blog I'm giving you today. The other thing is that boys are really emotionally vulnerable. Emotionally and morally vulnerable, because girls are way more advanced in their capacity to zip between their left and right brain, to look at things from an empathetic and a caring thing and then working it out. Boys have this real big challenge, and some of you go, yep, that sounds like my husband. We need to cut them a lot more slack. No, they're not tough, so be very careful of shaming boys. That wounds their little soul, and often after a while, if they've got too much energy and they get growled at a lot, they just think they're bad and they give up trying to be good. So we need to decode boys a little bit more. With more understanding, we will make much better choices around them. I'm a boy champion. I hope you can become one too. That's all for now.